Hey everybody! So, today we're going to talk about something a little different from Inter-lux. We're going to talk about the P60 Linear. Now, I know the market is saturated with linear options, but Inter-lux thinks very differently about their linear series. They don't think about an extrusion like a P60, like a 60mm piece like this, as just one thing. They think about it as a platform to do lots of different optical things. The ProTools P60 series from Inter-lux is really more of a platform than it is a single linear solution. So here's the end cap, magnetic for demonstration purposes. You can see right on into that, into the extrusion, and you can see down the line here. And the very end is the driver. The idea here is that this housing can ship prior to the light engines and gear trays going out. And what that does is it allows your electrician to make their electrical connections at the housing, and then your linear inserts can go in when the project is ready for them. This helps for two reasons. One, the housings are in stock so they can ship right away. They don't delay the project. And two, it keeps all of our optical elements and our lit elements clean. So if they're mudding up to these, or if they're doing a plaster detail or painting or whatever, you're not getting paint all over your nice optics. So let's talk about the optics. Known law across the United States that if you're a linear lighting manufacturer, you have to have a line of light product. So Inter-lux has that, right? This is your base line of light. We're going to take a look at that. But integration is sort of at the heart of what Inter-lux and Whitegoods do. And so this line of light that you see in this first photograph is much more than meets the eye. The lens is regressed about 1/2 inch below the aperture, creating a really soft, low glare line of light for every application. So one of the things that I think is worth talking about here is you're going to find on the cut sheets and on the website descriptions of the optics, right? So this is a white regressed louver, which is a standard option for a lot of these different extrusions and different configurations. Okay, so the question is going to become, what do I use it for? The answer is, what do you need it for? So you're going to see as I go through these images, you could, in theory, tuck this up against the wall and use this essentially as a grazer. But you could also use it as a general area downlight if you had a high ceiling space and you wanted to limit your view into the fixture, right? So if you're talking about a 20-foot, ceiling, some sort of atrium space or a large entryway, you could use this as your linear downlight and limit the view into it using this louver technique. So there's a lot of answers here that are not necessarily clear cut. You're going to see that they're going to offer some options, soft graze, wall grazing, wall washing. But beyond that, it's really about using your creativity to find the solution that makes sense for you. In the grazing application, you can see in this long view that there is a gap here, right? But if this is tucked up into a millwork detail or something, you would never see this gap, and it's just going to shoot light down the wall. And we'll get into that in a second. This louvered optic is really punchy, and it's going to create a very sharp line of light, as you can see here. But extremely nice punch, really sharp cutoff, can be used in grazing applications as well as downlight applications, depending on what kind of a light quality you're looking for. Okay, so let's talk subtle differences. We just looked at the white louvered fixture. Now we're going to look at the narrow optic with a black lensing. So you're going to see in the images very subtle difference between these two fixtures, but this is a softer beam, softer angles, more meant as a downlight application, although it is nice and tight against the wall if you need that. These little subtle things that Inter-lux gives you options on really do change the effect of the light. You're going to see that sharper line that the louvered fixture had dissipates. This is more lensed, softer on the beam. Just eases out those edges and doesn't give you that nice sharp cutoff. There are times when you want a really sharp line of light, and there are times when you really want that nice soft beam. This platform gives you both options. Okay, so we've talked about the standard linear extrusion, which, by the way, I didn't mention, recessed, suspended, surface mounted, wall mounted, all possible. Now let's talk about perimeters. So what I'm showing here is the microprismatic version of the perimeter. Okay. Now, I'm not breaking any ground here to explain how a perimeter system works, but just for those who may not have ever seen one, here's the end cap of the extrusion. And this is the microprismatic, as I mentioned before. So what happens is this is intended to mount right up against the wall, like that. And then the ceiling is going to intercept here. I know it's a little dark where my hand is, but I think you get the idea. The idea is that you're going to run right in here with your ceiling, and you're creating a pocket wash. Now, all kinds of different things happen, and you'll see this in the images, when you start to vary your distances, right? If you have this right up against the wall as I have it here, a certain effect happens. If you're able to pull this off the wall a little bit, you soften up that light. But this is just straight microprismatic. Here, let's show you this real quick. A really standard lens. Nothing super special there optically. It just softens the lens and softens the beam. But what it gives you is that same P60 profile, that same platform, doing a totally different job. So just to reinforce the point, you can sort of see as you tuck this up against the wall, it's creating a nice soft perimeter graze. I'm holding this off at an angle here. You can sort of see what it's doing. Really soft, subtle, really nice with the microprismatic, gets light up to the top of the wall and creates a beautiful lighted pocket. Okay, so last but certainly not least is the soft graze. You're going to see in here as we look at the images, but this is partially cut off with this black louver here. This can be white if you're matching a ceiling or you want it to disappear. And then this version is a black louvered version. And what happens as I get this up against the wall and you start to see, based on the distance that you put this off the wall, you're going to get harsher or more, if harsh is not the right word, more direct graze versus backing this off and getting more of like a reverse cove effect. So it's really a matter of where you station this fixture against the wall and what kind of a solution you're looking for. So I'm going to show you this tight up against the wall. We're also going to have a few images of it backed off against the wall. You can get a sense for how this works. Okay, so we'll start off with it right up against the wall, nice and tight. You can see how it's operating just like a grazer. Then we back it off a little bit, and you'll see that softer quality of light, and then it comes off about 3 inches, and you'll see that it softens up even more. Well, there you have it, guys. So this is a pretty quick overview of what the P60 is capable of. You know, we've had this up in Baltimore where we've shot this up a 14-foot wall. Looks really beautiful. Anything from high output grazing, soft graze optics, reverse cove feel, as well as just general ambient light, lines of light, all interchangeable, all housings first, gear trays to follow, really contractor friendly. And it's the kind of line where once you get used to it as a tool, similar to the coves and similar to the downlights with Inter-lux, I'm not going to lie to you, there's a little bit of a learning curve. You have to kind of get used to what these fixtures are and what they can do. But once you do, you're going to be really impressed and you're going to start going back to these tools over and over again. I have samples, obviously, right here. STA's got samples, so if you need something locally, we can always run it over to you. And if you want to play with different options, we can certainly ship you out any kinds of different optics you want to play with and mock up to make sure that you're feeling comfortable with it. There are IES files for everything on the website. And the other thing that we'll talk about, of course, is, and I'll just touch on it real quick, Inter-lux likes to use interactive PDFs. So you download the PDF and each image on that PDF becomes a link back to the current product page. So you can see an overview of all the different options and zoom right into the specific fixture you're looking for. So lots of options, tons of stuff with the P60, similar to the ProTools downlight lines, similar to the coves. Lots of little tiny variations that create dramatically different effects that integrate light into your architecture.